Disclaimer! The following episode contains spoilers for Wonder Woman 1984. Don't go crying to your mum if we spoil it for you. You've been warned. Welcome to Podcapers, the official podcast for a place to hang your cape. And this week, how does it feel? Kind of underwhelming, if I'm honest. We're talking about Wonder Woman 1984. Cue the music! Hello there, Capers, and as I said, welcome to Podcapers, the official podcast for a place to hang your cape. My name's Scott James Mirabal, and this is the show where we talk about various geek and nerd-related topics, and I'm joined each week by a very special different guest. She's been in all the other DC film reviews we've done. It's Alex Mirabal.
Hello.
Hi, Alex. So, what a fucking year.
Yeah, oh my god.
I mean, I remember in a quaint and olden time when we thought 2016 was a bad year.
Yeah, 2016 was bad because it had all of the celebrity deaths and then the election, and it was a mess. And then 2020 happened, and then like actual things that happened to the whole world on a large scale that was awful happened. Like, just a mess.
It's been a real pisser of a year, and you'd think one of the few things that could console us would be a reliable release schedule for most major blockbuster films. Sadly, that has not been the case. Obviously, that's the least of our concerns, obviously. There are so many worse things going on, but we have had some films delayed. And so we're getting Wonder Woman 1984 now on HBO Max. I'm sorry, I can't say that without laughing. HBO Max.
I'm sorry. HBO Max is like the best streaming service. Like,
yeah, I'm sure it's great. I'm sure it's fine, but it's wading into the shark-infested waters. Well, there's two sharks, Netflix and Disney Plus, and I'm just thinking like, okay, yeah, sure, these three apex predators are going to be able to cohabitate. Nope, one's going to get eaten.
And it's not HBO Max. It's seeming like it's Disney Plus.
Well, I mean, maybe, but do you really think Disney are going to let that happen? They'll throw money at a problem until it goes away.
Yeah, that's what happened with Mulan.
Oh, God. Oh, no.
That's what's going to happen to...
Don't mention that in my presence. It's giving me an aneurysm. Oh. But... I mean, here's the thing. Maybe it'll be great, but here's the problem. It's kind of difficult for me to watch certain films on HBO Max because Wonder Woman in particular has not been released for the HBO Max UK version.
Yeah,
unless you have a pretty good VPN.
That's the biggest flaw, I think, with HBO Max, but it's like it has such good shit consistently, and they've already announced that they're releasing all of their movies for next year on HBO Max same day it releases in theaters, and that, like, obviously that's not going to be great for theaters, but like they're doing it for no extra cost. Like, it's not the Mulan strategy where you have to pay an extra $30. It's totally free if you have a subscription.
That is good, absolutely, and it's tricky because this is going to sound very pretentious, and that's because it is, but I like to think of myself as a futurist. I know, hold in the cringe and bear with me. Because I do like to look forward, and, if a new emerging technology that is objectively better than what we have now comes along, I say go the whole hog and, go into it. I'm not necessarily an early adopter, but I do think that sometimes we need to get rid, or at least leave behind, old and outmoded ways of doing things. But I also fucking love going to the cinema. We're at a precipice right now.
Yeah, I think for a long time theaters have resisted a lot of change, and now they're going to be forced to or be fucked. But I think drive-in theaters are coming back.
Oh, that's good. It's interesting to bring that though, because theaters have said that before. They resisted people getting televisions. They said, oh no, now no one will go into the cinema. But people still kept on going to the cinema.
Mm-hmm.
Then home video with Betamax and VHS came along, and they said, oh no, no one will go to the cinema. They still go to the cinema. So I wonder, is this the same scenario as those times? Is it just going to be like, at first it seems like things are going to go horribly wrong, but people are still going to go once, COVID goes away? Or is it, no, it's actually well and truly done because they have lost, especially over here, they've lost a lot of revenue. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what's going to happen. And like, I'll be fine because I'll have my streaming services, but I like going to, like, I've talked about, my turbulent upbringing on this show before. I'm not going to go into it again. But for me, growing up, the cinema was like the one consistent thing I had. It's the place where, honestly, I feel the most at home and the most relaxed. And on a personal note, I don't want to see it go.
Yeah, it's like it's an experience, and I think it's an unmatched experience. I we used to go every year. We have the Udvar Hazy Air and Space Museum, like it's right outside of DC, and it's right next to where I grew up. And they had this massive, massive IMAX theater, and we used to like wait in line for like an hour before a big movie, like Christmas Day or around Christmas. And that was the thing all the time. And I think like that wasn't going to be the plan for this movie because it was going to come out in the summer, but
Yeah.
um it just we did it every year, and then it just kind of had to stop happening.
Yeah, and it sucks, but let's be honest. As I said, it is on the lowest bottom of the pile of
Hmm.
things that suck due to this. So let's just whatever happens, happens. We are still going to get a lot of great films, and if we have to see them in the comfort of our own homes rather than paying 10 quid a pop to go down to a cinema and have to share a armrest with some big sweaty guy, well then so be it. I like it, but I'm not unaware of the problems. But anyway, Wonder Woman 1984. Now, I've talked about the trauma I have as a result of infamously once saying I'm looking forward to Suicide Squad and then promptly getting Suicide Squad and promising to never look forward to another DC movie ever again. But they've been on a hot streak lately with Aquaman and Wonder Woman before, and a
Shazam,
few others. Shazam,
Birds
and
of
I even
Prey.
recently watched this animated movie, Justice League versus the Fatal Five, which was was fine, but was still pretty enjoyable. And I just maybe I had a little twinge of kind of looking forward to this one. Yeah, it's all right. It's fine.
It's perfectly average. I think
Yeah,
there's some
not
things.
even mediocre, just perfectly
Yeah,
average.
there's some things that are definitely better than the first movie, and there's some things that they just could not even get close to the first movie. Um,
Which in a way is a good way because I didn't want what I didn't want was a perfect recreation of the first movie because we already have the first movie and this is set many decades after the character has grown and developed. You shouldn't try to recreate the original. You should try to build on it. But that's not really what they've done here. What they've done here is they haven't so much just tried to build on what came before as they have kind of start again with callbacks to certain specific aspects of the original,
not just the original, but
which is not.
the whole of like the DC extended universe at this point, which is really interesting.
But it leaves the movie in this weird sort of fluxing null state
Mhm.
where it's connected to things, but is also very disconnected to
It
things.
it feels like they bit off way more than they could chew. Like this
Hmm.
this movie for a prequel, like technically a sequel prequel, like it's a prequel to like Batman vs Superman and Justice League, but it's a sequel to Wonder Woman. Like it's a period piece, and it like it shouldn't be a world-ending event.
No, like
It really,
what we needed.
it really shouldn't be, and it just has to be because otherwise Wonder Woman is like not. You're not utilizing like she's great power. She has to be fighting a great power, which I don't think is necessarily the case, but they felt like they had to.
Here's the thing. The first movie was about Wonder Woman leaving her sheltered home and going out to the big wide world to fight for what she believes in. What this movie should have been about is Wonder Woman learning to live in the world. And
But they skipped all that.
they skipped that. They skipped that. And I don't know, we could have had her living in seclusion for a long while, devastated over the loss of Steve Trevor, and then finally deciding, you know what, he wouldn't want me to wallow for 70 years. Maybe I should go out and experience the world. But then we would have been retreading the first movie a little bit. So I don't know what the right way
There's
to
like a
do.
little bit of it in this movie. Like they try to like say that she hasn't had friends for 70 years except for Etta. Like there's a picture of Etta of older Etta
That
and
was
like
a nice callback.
that was nice. When like I guess they both came to the US at the same time. But
I
like
don't know.
it just was it like there's no way she didn't talk to fucking anyone for 70 years. She has a job. She clearly like went to college and got a degree. Like what?
I mean, I'm basically a shut-in even pre-COVID, and I have friends. What's her fucking excuse?
Right. There's
Well,
like
I'm nowhere near as charismatic as her.
there's it's just like there's no reason why her figuring out that she can live without Steve didn't happen before now. Like the first
It's,
person she wanted to talk to in like fucking 70 years is Barbara.
I don't know. I don't, right. Before we get too ahead of ourselves, we should just start at the beginning. In this case, the very literal beginning, because we're starting when Diana was but a wee nipper and is kind of snuck into and is allowed to take part in a huge athletics competition of some kind. And I will say this, it's got virtually nothing to do with the rest of the movie, but
No,
I don't care
it's
because,
fun.
frankly, if the Olympics were like this, I might actually watch the Olympics.
Okay, but think about this. Like most of the competition was watching flags fall. I think as a
Yes.
spectator that that probably sucks, but as someone watching the movie, it rules.
Go. It's the Triwizard Tournament problem again. People just
Mhm.
assume that kids would like spend a couple of hours watching the surface of a lake.
Right,
Just
exactly.
oh god. And so Diana is taking part. She's somehow allowed to. Her mum and her aunt, who from the characters reprise their roles from the previous movie, but they're only in this one scene. Don't
Yeah.
think they have a real massive point. Like, cool, you got Robin Wright to put on the getup again for this one scene. That's cool, but that doesn't really mean anything.
I mean, she was not there was not much of her in the first movie either. Like they really like she is dedicating herself to a character that doesn't have a lot to do.
Hmm. I mean, you could. Okay, so I think the reason why this scene was included is because they had to have a really contrived way of getting this message across. Because Diana falls off a horse at one point and it's like, oh no, I'm definitely going to use. Then she sees this very convenient aqueduct tunnel luge thing, slides down that, gets back on a horse, and is about to win. But then Robin Wright yoinks her off the horse, and she's like, "What the hell? I was about to win." But she was like, "Yeah, but you took a shortcut that I guess I telepathically know for no
Well,
reason."
okay, they do know. I could tell why they knew. There's the checkpoints. She missed one, and then suddenly her
Ah,
checkpoint. She missed the last one, and then suddenly she was at the end. It's like, how'd you? What happened to your smoke, Diana?
yeah, maybe. But then her aunt is just like, "Okay, look, you can't lie, you can't cheat, yada yada. No true hero is born from lies." And that sort of ties into what happens later on in the movie,
Yeah.
but
It
barely.
really I think it shows that like as a kid, like Diana's never been 100% perfect. Like she does have this streak of like a little bit of selfishness.
Which is good. It makes her a much more interesting character.
And I wish that like that absolutely is something that comes up in this movie, but she gets so lost in the weeds in general in this movie. Like she gets outshined by all the side characters being way better than her.
Yeah, and we're going to get to that in a bit. I can't wait to fucking get to that. But
Oh, yeah.
before, we need America, the montage. It's just a montage of capitalist 80s America. Actually, I say that it's very overindulgent in its depiction of the excess of 80s America, but at the same time, it's also kind of restrained in terms of portraying the 80s.
It's weird. Like they did actually recreate a mall near my hometown. The mall
Because
that
it's
like
set in Washington, D.C.
it's set in DC. There is no like mall like that in DC. That mall is actually in Alexandria, which is near where I grew up. And they totally recreated that mall, and like the actual stores are like so accurate, and it was amazing to like hear about the process and that. But like there's some things that they take from the 80s a lot, like a little bit of aesthetic, not a lot of aesthetic, but a little bit of aesthetic, and for some reason racial stereotypes from the 80s about Middle Eastern people. It's like, why'd you do that?
Yeah,
Why
it's
that part?
I don't know. I don't know. It's the most bizarre thing. So, I mean, the screenplay was written by Patty Jenkins, but also by Jeff Johns
Yeah.
and Dave Callahan. And so I don't think they were trying to be racist, but you don't have to try to succeed in being racist. It's one of the easiest things to do, to be totally honest.
Yeah, it's
And
very weird.
again, we're going to get to that. It's there's just this movie forces you to kind of stop and go, wait, what? And it's it's a distracting movie, and not in a good way.
Yeah, we spent, because I watched this with my mom and my brother, and we spent a lot of time at the very beginning just like laughing at the sheer absurdity of a lot of it. We're like, what? Okay,
Not laughing
cool.
with the movie, laughing at the movie. And okay, so we start with this one scene where these guys go into one of these stores at the shopping mall, and they're just like, hey, we're not interested in your jewelry. We know you've got some secret black market stuff going on in the back. And this is one of those things that I kind of did laugh with the movie with, because I thought that was a reference to the classic 80 TV shows where there was always like secret black market smuggling going on right in the heart of a major metropolitan city.
Yeah, I think this opening is like a reference to like Linda Carter era Wonder Woman, because
Even though
it's
that is kind of
so corny.
70s.
It's or
Yeah.
70s, but it's so fucking corny.
It is very corny, but here's the thing. When you do something like that in a movie like this, the line between homage / parody and take this as seriously as anything else in the movie is razor thin. So you and I can appreciate it for, oh, it's kind of corny, but they know what they're doing. It's tongue in cheek. But other people might think, well, that's kind of weird. I just got off of this really cool war movie with Wonder Woman, and now I'm watching this.
It's so for a tone setter for this movie, it super doesn't work because it's not even the tone of the movie.
It's just the tone of this one scene, because then they get out, but are immediately spotted because of one of them bungles something by accidentally showing a gun in the most slapstick Three Stooges way possible.
He starts tripping and his gun falls out of his pants. It's like, how the fuck did you fuck that up so bad? And then he's like, I won't go back. Like, I'm not going back to prison. Like, dude, you're the one who dropped the gun. You've been to prison before? You've done this before?
Clearly he has. I don't know. I mean, America's revolving door prison system, honestly. But then he grabs a kid and starts holding her over the side of a balcony. And even the other robbers are just like, dude, no, what are you doing? Stop. And then Wonder Woman comes in, takes off her tiara, throws it at a camera, and she uses it as a sort of boomerang. I mean, that's another callback because she has done that before. It doesn't make it any less stupid. it's not exactly aerodynamic. It's a tiara, headband, whatever you want to call it. I don't know. Anyway, and then she kicks the bad guys' asses and manages to say, "Oh God!" She saves this one little girl. It's a very sweet little girl, separate to the other girl that was being held over the balcony. The little girl's just standing in the middle of this fight, going like, "Wow, cool!" Self-preservation instincts, kid. Heard of them? And so Wonder Woman throws her, sort of slash slides her into this big stuffed teddy bear thing, and then we get the most bizarre thing ever. The little girl smiles at Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman gives her the thumbs up. Little girl waves at Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman winks. I'm exaggerating slightly, but not much. It's so
That's
very.
what it is. It's just weird.
It's very weird. It's so weird. And then she manages
I
to.
think it's supposed to be a reference. I think she's supposed to be a reference to Star Blossom, who's a character, like a little girl who can control flowers, and she has those like pigtail buns, and she wears pink, and she works with Wonder Woman and for a little bit, and she's like, Wonder Woman, I'm your biggest fan. I have all your action figures. And she's like, someday I wish I can have your action figures. And she's very cute.
When did this character debut?
Actually fairly recently, just 2016.
Yeah, I was afraid of that. That sounds really weird.
Star
Blossom.
It sounds like
Star Blossom.
It sounds like a Jeff Johns thing. It's actually a Gail Simone thing.
Oh, well, then it's probably brilliant, and I just don't realize it.
Right.
Anyway, so Wonder Woman escapes, still maintaining that anonymity. Thanks, Batman vs Superman, for establishing that. So now the character is really fucking limited. Anyway, and it turns out she's been working as an anthropologist in the Smithsonian Institute. America, do you have to make your museum sound so difficult to pronounce? We just have, like, the big one for us, the British Museum. It's a museum, and it's British, and it's full of things we stole. That's all you need to know. Anyway, she's working at the Smithsonian, and which makes sense.
There's a lot of different Smithsonians. They're like, it's like a system.
It's like the Oxford colleges.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, it's a system of free museums and institutes. And I believe she just works at the Natural History Museum in DC.
I mean, she wouldn't be working at the TV version.
No, she wouldn't. Yeah, she wouldn't be. Well, then there is the news. The news.
Yes, I study the intricate works of Leave It to Beaver. You know, that's what you do. Anyway, and while there, she meets another scientist, anthropologist person, a gemologist, I believe she's called, as long as there was other things. Barbara Minerva, played by Kristen Wiig. Mm-hmm. Okay, so let me say something right off the bat. Kristen Wiig is excellent in this movie. Mm-hmm. She's had dramatic roles before and comedic roles. Here, she gets to sort of flex both styles, gets to be a little bit comedic at first, but get darker and darker as the movie goes on, be more dramatic. And she clearly has a lot of fun with the role, and honestly, the drama she has to do here is very different from something else like, say, The Martian or anything like that. And so I thought her performance was really, really good in this movie, and she's clearly having a lot of fun. Having said that, let's talk about queer coding.
Oh, it's not coding. Barbara Minerva is a lesbian. She's a lesbian in the comics.
Well, then even better. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, Barbara Minerva is a lesbian in the comics. She's not so much in this movie, but she probably super should have been.
Okay, even better. See, I didn't know that. This is why I have you when we're talking these things, because I don't have a lot of context for a lot of DC comics. So let's talk about that. So I guess I don't know whether to call this queer baiting or not, but it's I mean, what did you think about the way? Because she's a very interesting reaction to Diana, like in a very sort of, ooh, I might have a crush on you, kind of admire you kind of way, sort of like Star Blossom, whatever her name is.
Yeah, well, Star Blossom's like a child. Like the point of her is that she's like a fan. But Barbara, and she's someone that like in the early comics, this is like so many of Wonder Woman's villains, if they're not already, should be lesbians. Because something that like
I bet William Moulton Marston would love that.
Absolutely, like one of the like things that he kept putting in was that whenever whenever Diana defeated someone, she didn't send them to prison, especially if they were like superpowered, like Cheetah or like Cersei. She would bring them to Themyscira and she would train them, and she'd be like, "Look, you obviously have a good skill, but you're just misusing it. So maybe we can, point that in the right direction." So a lot of her villains became heroes. Um,
Oh,
and Cheetah was one of the like very common visitors of Themyscira for that reason. Um and it's
sure, that's the only reason she visited.
right, like like a lot of her villains are very clearly, I mean, she from day one was queer coded, and a lot of her villains continue that tradition. And I'm pretty sure, like, I'm sure it's like a recent thing. Like I'm not a big Wonder Woman comic person. I like the history of Wonder Woman, but I don't like read a lot of recent comics about her. But like,
I tried to research the history of Wonder Woman, but researching the history of any DC character, with the possible exception of Superman and Batman, it's a fucking
they're
minefield.
actually I can't remember the name of the author, but there's a really great audiobook on Audible. There's two great audiobooks. It's like one of them focuses on William Moulton Marston, and the other one focuses on like actually Wonder Woman in her comics that I've listened to, and that's how like I get all of my stuff. This author writes a lot about DC female characters. Tim Hanley, the Wonder Woman Unbound is the name of the
Oh,
book.
I'm
It's
bound.
fantastic. He
Okay.
also wrote Right, he also wrote The Many Lives of Catwoman. So it's just like it's a history of in comics of these characters. And they're really really in depth and really fucking cool. Um so I would, and they also like talk about the context of like why Wonder Woman suddenly lost her powers in the 90s. Like it's a lot of really cool shit.
Yeah, I didn't even know that happened.
Mhm.
Okay, so I've got to do more research for that sort of thing. But so Barbara Minerva, aka Cheetah, in the comics is lesbian, but she's not here, and it's the character is kind of interesting, but not necessarily in a good way, because she starts off being kind of quirky and weird, but then she comes in possession of this citrine crystal formation thing, which was from the robbery that Wonder Woman foiled earlier, given to the Smithsonian by the FBI to study and figure out what it is, because I'm sure the FBI has a vested interest in that, and
If they did, they would have kept it.
probably, and it has a Latin inscription, and everyone's like, "Ooh, what's this thing?" Well, that's the mystery for the first part of this movie. This is at this point I need to point out that this movie is 2.5 hours long.
There's too much going on. But like the beginning of it feels like it's moving at breakneck speed. Like
Oh
there's
yeah,
so much of it that feels like it's going so fast that you forget that this is also way too long.
it, it 2 hours max. It really didn't need to be, and I don't know. Maybe there's some things could need to be cut. I don't know, but there's just a lot of stuff going on, and I wouldn't mind if it weren't for that the stuff that was going on was more interesting than what's going on with Wonder Woman.
Right. It's just not like stuff that's on like that's going on with her. Like it's just not interesting. Like Barbara has like the actual arc in this movie, and she has an arc, but she has like a side character's arc. She doesn't
Yeah,
have
but
a
that's
complete
the thing, though.
character's arc.
That's the thing. Less so than you might think, because so what happens is she gets hold of the stone. She's just like, "Oh, I wish I was like Diana," and spoiler alert: it turns out this thing is called the Dream Stone, or at least that's what it's referred to early on,
Mhm.
and it grants wishes. Ooh, and so she gets superpowers, and she kind of goes through the typical superhero origin story motions. She gets it's ripped out of the straight out of the pages of like the first Spider-Man movie. Like she gets a bit of a glow up, and even though she doesn't really look that different, she just wears her hair slightly differently. She gets super strong and super fast, and at first it's comedic, and then as the movie goes on it gets darker and darker. But they spent so much time focusing on that, you could have just made the movie about her and very little would have been lost.
Yeah, like she very, and I don't like so much of what she does, and I'm like it's not until the end that I'm like, is she a villain? She's not really a villain. Like she beats up a rapist. Like I'm like, go, yeah, hell yeah. Go ahead, Barbara. Kick his ass.
And then we're meant to feel like, oh no, she did a bad thing. She did a bad thing about the guy who serially harasses people and is clearly. I didn't feel bad for him. I did not like. So
Mm.
it's scene that happens later on, and she basically continually kicks this guy down the street. And I'm sorry, I didn't feel bad for him. But it's just like, oh no, she's driven to the dark side, and I mean, a little bit, but maybe if she was abusing her powers rather than taking justified vengeance upon an absolute creep, maybe that message would have been a bit more effective. Not
Mhm.
quite so. But you know what? It's okay, because if one bad guy in this movie wasn't good enough, we've got two. We've got Maxwell Lord, played by Pedro Pascal, and he is having the time of his fucking life.
Anyone else, and I don't think this character would work. Pedro Pascal fucking kills it.
He's so good. He's so fucking insane,
Yeah,
and I
like this,
love it.
the villains in this movie, I think, are way better than the first movie. I like them more. Like
Mm.
they stand to be like, it's not just all out big, superhero fight at the end. Like there's a little bit of that, but it's not really the point of the movie. It's not the centerpiece like Ares was. Um,
Yeah, because the villain in the previous one, I always thought like the real villain, like the real antagonist, was I don't know, some kind of metaphor, is metaphorical about it was this commentary on the nature of war and humanity, and that was what we were really focused on. That was what was Diana was really fighting against. Less so this one German general, and less so Doctor Poison, and less so Ares. They were just like physical manifestations of that metaphor.
there's a little bit of that in this movie. Like this is like this movie is like fighting against selfishness and greed and like she even like I mean the end I think reflects that with Max's outcome, but we'll get to that.
Yeah, because Maxwell Lord in this movie, I'm not that familiar with the character. I've seen him pop up in other media, but I've never paid that much attention. He always seemed to me like a kind of like a discount Lex Luthor.
He is.
Yeah, but in this version, he's uh, like a supposed self-made business oil magnate slash television personality. Honestly, I wish I could say that that doesn't seem realistic, but it's America. That seems 100% realistic.
Yeah. He has to goes back and forth between good guy, bad guy. He actually worked with the Justice League. Um a little bit, but and he like organized and funded the International Justice League. But he's
Hmm.
also there's a lot of different Maxwell Lords. Like that, like it's like he names his son Maxwell Lord, and so there's like a few of like while everyone
Oh
else
no.
like doesn't age, Max actually does, and so he gets like replaced every couple of generations with a new
Jeez.
Max, and they're either um jackass, capitalist, or
My
they're
father
good.
may have liked you superheroes, but I'm much smarter than that.
Right, yeah.
That's the impression I'm getting. But here, though, he's desperate to be this big oil magnate by tapping well reserves in the US, but they've all been passed on before. That's because there's nothing going on there, and he's sort of it's hinted at that he's defrauded his investors, or at the very least has misled them. And he's doing this because he wants to be a big business boy. He's also, and at first I thought like, oh, this guy's going to be an irredeemable smug arsehole. But then it's revealed he's got a son, Alistair, who he seems to genuinely care about if he does get sometimes quite distracted by work. And I was like, oh, they're going to make this character kind of sympathetic. And damn it all if they don't do just that. This is a really interesting character.
Yeah, they do this thing where like he's sympathetic, but he's not forgiven. And he is like, I'm a fucking asshole. Like I'm a terrible person and like and he doesn't get redeemed, but he does realize his what he's done is wrong.
Yeah, he it's a self-awareness, and at least it's a character arc that does come to a very satisfying conclusion. And again, we'll get to that when we get to that. But you're absolutely right. Anyone else in this role might have fucked up. They would have gone too hammy or not hammy enough. Pedro Pascal, honestly, I'm learning more and more just how underrated an actor he is because something like The Mandalorian, for example, obvious example, but it's night and day. It's such a vast disparity. The guy's got such incredible range.
He,
And I haven't seen him in something like Narcos,
yeah, I
but
think I actually heard somewhere that I don't know if he was Steve, but he was definitely in it. He was in the canceled pilot for Wonder Woman in the early 2000s.
oh, that one. Oh, that
Yeah.
stupid one. Oh, no. Oh, have you seen it?
No, of course not. I have no desire to see it, but I have seen a
You
picture of him in it.
you have to because it's the most delightful train wreck. Wonder Woman now has three secret identities, or like, it's and it's so stupid. It's so stupid. Oh God, I loved it. It was absolute tosh. Anyway, and so turns out Max Lord has donated a bunch of stuff to the Smithsonian, which has given him a private tour, and he wants it to be given by Barbara. And it's revealed later the reason why he did that was because he wanted to get his hands on the Dreamstone. Ooh. And early before that, he meets Diana and he tries to be all charming with her like he was with Barbara. And she clearly doesn't like him. And maybe I missed something, but why does she seem to dislike him so
She
much?
seems jealous. Like it's because they've had their lunch at this point. Like Barbara and Diana went to lunch and they hit it off really well, and that's like that scene is super gay.
This,
Um,
this is why I bring up the queer coding thing because these characters act in the way like they would be jealous,
yeah, it
but
seems like Diana's jealous a little bit of Max, which is so weird. Like maybe it's a straight thing. Like, oh, she's my new friend. She can't also have another new friend. But there's. I guess it's just because like Diana is not receptive to like men who are clear. Like Max is charming, but you can kind of see through it if you're looking for it. Like
he's
she
charming in
doesn't-
a sort of televangelist,
right.
salesman
She
sort
doesn't
of
have a
way.
TV, so she's never experienced him the way, Barbara has and the way a lot of people have, which is on TV.
Yeah. And I just thought that's one of the things where I mentioned that this movie was distracting. That was one of the things that I found really distracting. But at some point, Diana gets a hand of stone and unknowingly, similar to Barbara, uses it to wish that Steve Trevor, was still alive because in all these years she's still got his watch and his photo and has never really moved on. And oh God, it's
Weird,
how,
bad way of doing this.
it's so stupid. It's so because what happens then is later on at a Smithsonian party where Barbara has started a transformation by becoming a bit more like Diana by putting on a different dress. I don't know. It's really done really badly. But then, but Diana meets this guy who's just like, Diana, it's me, Steve. Oh my God, Steve, it is you. And then we transition and we see that she's seeing this different guy as Steve.
Yeah, he turns into Chris Pine. Um,
But does everyone else see that? Because in the mirror later on, it's the other guy, and it's they never really.
I
Okay, so I
I
have to.
think it's that everyone sees him as this dude because no one's ever met Steve before. So like
True,
Diana's the only one who's ever
and
met Steve.
I
So
don't
it
know, but
makes sense
that's not.
that
It's just my biggest issue with this. Leaving aside the fact that it's really contrived, leaving aside the fact that it's basically, Diana turn to the audience and say, "Do you believe in fairies?" Leaving all that aside, they never talk about the moral ramifications of Steve Trevor, who's been dead for 70 years, possessing the body of this random guy.
yeah, it's so weird. It makes no sense. And I thought this was like the logic of the movie. I thought it was like if you wish for something, something gets taken from somebody else. That's what I thought it was, which is why I thought like Diana was getting weaker because Barbara was taking her power, and
That's what I thought too.
Steve had to replace someone else in order to, and they're gonna realize, oh, maybe we shouldn't be taking over this guy's life. That's not the case.
No, because what happens is Max gets his hand on the Dreamstone, takes it with him to his office,
Shoves it
and
up his
then
ass, I guess. That's what we like thought was really funny because he like put it behind his back, and we're like, what is he gonna do with it? How is he gonna hide that?
because he's making out with Barbara, and then sort of grabs the gemstone and just holds it behind his back, and then I guess we don't see him saying "Okay, bye," and then just hides it behind him as he backs out of the door.
But then she
I
says
don't
later
know.
that she just gave it to him. So it's like
Yeah,
they didn't need
it's
to hide it behind the back and make us think that he needed to like hide it in his ass.
I don't fucking know, but he takes it with him to his office, and then it turns out he's been doing research on the Dreamstone. Why he's been doing it, how he found out about it, why he thinks it would actually work, none of which gets explained. All we know is he then wishes that he was the Dreamstone, that he had the powers of the Dreamstone, i.e. the ability to grant wishes whilst taking something from someone. And then the Dreamstone crumbles into sand. And that's when I got excited, because I thought, wait a minute. Dreamstone? Sand? Is this a reference to Neil Gaiman's The Sandman? Is this actually one of the artifacts of Morpheus, aka Dream, the main character from that book series? Is he going to turn up in this movie? Is he? Because everything points to that, and no!
Dreamstone, the actual Dreamstone in DC is something that Dream uses.
Yeah, but that's not what it is in this movie. It never gets brought up. Dream never comes along. It's just a stone called the Dreamstone, which is actually based on like the power of this liar god that they briefly skip over later on in the movie. So why did you fucking call it the Dreamstone, guys? Why? Why would you tease me like that?
Because everything needs to be something from something.
But this isn't something from something. It's something. It should be something, but isn't. Anyway, so oh god. So this got brought up. I was perusing Reddit as I do, and I saw a reference to the fact that there is a sexual assault in this movie. And I thought, really? Wow. What? But they didn't seem happy about it. Like, they weren't saying, like, oh, they portrayed it really well. No, it was done really badly. And I kept on wondering, what is that? What's a sexual assault? And then it's revealed that Steve and Diana had sex while he's in this other guy's body.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's
and
not...
It's not until after that they're like, maybe we should examine this.
Just, like, that seems wrong. That seems wrong. I don't know if this is what that person on Reddit was referring to, but it seems like a likely candidate to me.
Because Barbara almost gets assaulted, and that is handled pretty well. Because Diana comes in, and then Barbara beats the shit out of the guy later. This is it's one of those things that's like played up for laughs. It's a sexual assault of a man that's either played for laughs or not even mentioned at all.
It speaks to a certain level of a lack of self-awareness that this movie really needed to have on multiple levels. And then you get distracted by that, by Max Lord going around town granting people's wishes. And it's, oh god. So he basically gets people to wish for things, gives it to them, but then takes stuff from them, and reality kind of warps itself around that. It's at first I thought it was being done very cleverly, but then it just became kind of stupid and ridiculous.
Yeah, there's something that it's like, how did you get that from the, like, it's supposed to be monkey's paw, like they say, but like, you're just able to pick anything you want to take. So, like, what the fuck?
Yeah, because like in the case of Diana, she wishes Steve was back, and because of that, she starts to lose her powers. I know we've already referenced the Spider-Man movie, but this is very Spider-Man 2. Just saying. Been done before by Sam Raimi, of all people. Come on. And Barbara, she wishes to be like Diana, so she becomes stronger and more glamorous, but also starts to lose a part of her humanity. And again, Kristen Wiig does a very good job of portraying that. But then Max Lord, like, the rules kind of change, and this is the problem with Suicide Squad with the Enchantress. It's magic, so they don't explain it, which means anything can happen, and the movie just kind of has to go along with it. And
Yeah,
there's a couple
it
of
has
times
weird and inconsistent rules.
very inconsistent. Like, sometimes it seems like the wish is retroactive, like it rewrites history. Other times it makes something patently magic and unnaturalistic happen. And I just like a little bit of consistency, that's all. But oh no, it seems to also be really damaging Max's health. Somehow, don't know why. There's no explanation given for that either. It just keeps on damaging him.
It kind of
Uh,
implies that he was already sick. Maybe it made his whatever he has worse. Because he does talk about in like the beginning before he even has the stone. He like says like get me my vitamin. Like he already has a headache.
oh,
So
see, I
maybe he
always
was
thought that was
already
just him
sick.
being a weird 80s
I
yuppie,
don't
whatever
know.
it is.
Maybe he was already sick, and then like the stone made it worse because that was the payoff.
Maybe. Hmm. Uh, I don't know. That seems as good an explanation as any, but the movie doesn't give me that. You gave me that. I don't know. So after the post-coital, let's not talk about the moral ramifications night, Diane and Steve realize, okay, we need to go out into the world. And it's, how can I put this? It's preceded by an 80s clove change montage.
I do appreciate how into fanny pack Steve is. He's very adamant about his fanny packs.
It's so weird though. It's so I don't know.
I
I don't know.
give like for like it's weird, but it like for me it did get like it's probably unnecessary in the grand scheme of the movie, but it does give me like an idea of what their like relationship in real life would have been because they couldn't do it. Like
Hmm.
Diana has an idea of one fashion choice and Steve doesn't like it and wants to do another thing, and then eventually they come to this compromise um where he gets to wear a fanny pack. He really wants a fanny pack. And she's like, you probably shouldn't wear a fanny pack, but she lets him like that feels like a real like relationship conversation between the two of them.
It was very fun, if not just a tiny bit weird. Although one thing I would like to point out, in the UK, fanny packs are called bum bags. I just wanted to point that out because fanny means something very different over here. Anyway, and then that after they have the clothing change montage, they go out into the streets of Washington to sort of let Steve experience this brand new future. And I did find this bit rather charming, to be honest. Steve like getting on escalator the first time, and Chris Pine just like shows real genuine childlike wonder at an escalator.
hmm
It's actually really fun.
I do wish we got to see like his initial entrance into this world because we have to like they skip over a lot of it in order for him to just show up at the party. But he does mention that like he woke up in this weird apartment and he had to figure out how to like drive to go see Diana and like had to read the yellow pages to find her. And it just it
Oh yeah. Oh, that was really stupid. He found her by the yellow pages and then tracked her down to a party at the Smithsonian.
I
It,
guess he like figured out that she worked because he said he was following her like a weirdo. He acknowledges that was weird, um, but it's just like he seems to get adjusted way too easily, and also figure like even the idea that he doesn't have any fucking idea Diana's in the same city as him, but he's like
no.
because last time he knew Diana was in the UK. She wasn't in the US and suddenly he's in DC and he's like, she's probably here.
Under the same name that I gave her in 1918.
Exactly.
It's it's a little weird. But anyway, they figure out that Max Lord has the stone. So they realize, oh crap, we need to find this guy. But he's gone to Cairo to deal with the racist stereotype that we mentioned earlier. This
They could have I think this movie literally could go on unaltered if they just cut this whole sequence. If they just stayed in DC, didn't go anywhere, the movie would have been exactly the fucking same.
It's half an hour that out of our lines that we'll never get back. But there's so many bizarre things in it. First of all, they realize, oh, we need to fly over there. Oh, but we can't because Steve doesn't have a passport. That is a bit of a tricky dilemma. I know, we'll steal a plane. And they go to an airfield, they get in the plane, and of course, immediately, security at the airport starts blaring sirens and, preparing to stop them. And they both look surprised, like, I didn't think we meet any resistance to, stealing a plane.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then he's like, they can't find me, and she's like, well, radar's a thing, actually. And he's like, fucking goddamn it, Diana.
Did you not think of that before? Oh god! So what's the solution? What's the solution? She apparently now has the power to turn things invisible.
She has limited, like, it's something that she expressly says, like, I don't know if I can do this consistently, but I can definitely try to do it now. I did it to a mug and I lost it, which was very funny. I like these
This
little things with
is
Diana that I
the.
really like, is I think it's cute.
It was very, very cute, but it did not distract me from the fact that it was bone-numbingly stupid.
I don't think so. Like, I think it like,
no, it is. It comes right. It comes out of nowhere. The explanation she gives is vague at best and bizarre at worst. And she's able to do it, and it's all just for a reference to the invisible jet from the classic Wonder Woman. No,
it's
fucking.
I think it's definitely something it's something that can be cut from the movie, but I think like the scene actually does go a long way of like giving Diana a little bit more of a personality, because it tells us like she hasn't just been doing nothing with her abilities for, like, she's obviously been doing Wonder Woman things and saving people, but she's also been like training and trying to figure out her powers now that she knows she's the daughter of Zeus. Well, if Zeus can do something, why can't I? And so she's testing those powers and those abilities, and Zeus was able to hide the mascara, so she thinks maybe she can hide other things, and she does it on the coffee mug, and she loses the coffee mug. But I get this is I think this is less a plot relevant thing and more a giving Diana more to do thing. And I wish that would spread out a little bit more in the movie, but there's like some particular scenes that I think if they cut, Diana would just be nothing, and this is it. This is one of those scenes.
Maybe I can sort of accept that. What I can't accept the fact is that Steve Trevor is able to fly an 80s fighter jet plane kind of thing when he's only flown like fucking 1918 planes. They're infinitely more complicated. Just because you can drive a a soapbox derby car doesn't mean you can drive a Formula One car, And also, okay, she makes the plane invisible. Okay, fine. Why would it suddenly be immune to radar? If it is the same stuff that hides the mascara, that might explain it a bit. But just because something is invisible to the naked eye doesn't mean radar can't pick it up. That's not how radar works.
Nothing was able to pick up the mascara, and still hasn't been able to pick up the mascara. So it's the same kind of thing, then she does completely hide it.
Yeah, I can accept that. It's just, again, the movie does a terrible job of explaining it.
I don't think so. In this moment, like, she literally tells you, like, all of her lines in this moment is, here's what I'm trying to do. I've tried to do it before. Here's what I think it will do. Here's what I hope it'll do. And here's what it does. Like, she does actually lay this out. It's all in that moment, and it's not set up at all. But it is like, she does actually explain it explicitly.
Still not good enough for my nitpicking. Anyway, so they make it. We get a very nice scene with Steve and Diana flying by this random fireworks display.
Because apparently it's the 4th of July and no one told anyone.
Because
There's
Americans are so
no
subtle about celebrating their independence.
like okay, it's not something that it's not something that everyone does, but it's definitely something that like every business does. The fact that there's
Mm.
not like red, white, and blue fucking everywhere, like everywhere she goes, is in like that's just not realistic. Maybe it was different in the 80s, but like the fact that there's not like red, white, and blue streamers all over the mall or like happy Fourth like everywhere. Like it's not realistic in that sense. It's like suddenly it's the 4th of July because we need fireworks. Don't worry about it.
Couldn't be just some kid's birthday party? I don't know. But so we go to Cairo, and Maxwell Lord says, "Hey, Mr. Big Oil Sheik guy, I want your oil. What do you wish for it? I wish for this land that I have to be recognized as mine and all the heathens to be kept out of it." And this results in a giant fucking wall coming up out of nowhere.
It's so bad. It's so bad. It's such a bad like representation of this. This could have been cut entirely.
It's it's just out of nowhere, and it's just unnecessary, just so blatantly unnecessary. Leaving aside the representation, which is bad in of itself, no
Right.
fixing that. But
Not only is it unnecessary, it's completely like he says that Max is like, okay, then I'm gonna take all your oil, and he's like, well, I don't have any oil. I sold it all to the Saudis, and then he never like goes to the Saudis and gets the oil, but like 2 scenes later, he has the most oil in the world.
I don't get it. It's just like he already had a bunch of oil back in the US with all the supposedly dry oil wells that were suddenly flourishing. Why does he want to go to this guy? Is it just because like nothing's ever enough? He just wants more and more and more?
I mean, that's literally what he says. Like he says that
I,
in the movie. Why not more?
I guess I just feel like he could have staggered it out a bit more. Like this whole thing takes place over a couple of days, if that. But so
Like a sale like that would have been like he probably wouldn't know that like this guy sold to the Saudis, so he should probably go to the Saudis. All he goes there and he just takes his security team, which I guess is fine, but also like then he doesn't have the oil, and then the next scene he suddenly has all the oil. So was this scene pointless? I mean, yes,
yes,
like,
yes, it was.
but like
It's just,
what?
no, it wasn't pointless because it had to lead into the fantastic and not at all okay uh, fight scene on the desert highway.
Yeah, that includes something that is absolutely terrible.
And what is that thing?
Well, this is gonna get a little bit real. In I think 2014, um, the Israeli forces killed four Pakistani boys in the street, or Palestinian, sorry, Palestinian boys in the street who were playing soccer. And in this movie, Gal Gadot, who is a former member of the Israeli military, saving a bunch of kids using a missile, uh, who are playing soccer in the street. And it is so rough to watch with that context.
Yeah, see, I didn't have that context, but now that I do, I can't get that thought out of my head. Yes, they're in Cairo, so Egyptian and
They're not
Egypt and Palestine are not the
explicitly,
same place,
yeah, they're
it,
specifically not Palestinian kids.
they are Middle Eastern, and oh no!
And she
Can
tells
you tell
Steve
that a
that she's
bunch of
gonna
white people wrote this?
like I don't care like that it was part of getting her closer faster, but the fact that they had to shoot a missile at children.
Because here's the thing, Diana has been slowly losing her powers over the course of the thing, which I've now realised is ripping off both Spider-Man 2 and that Wolverine movie. But anyway. And so it leads to what should be a harrowing chase scene as they fight across this blockade of this convoy of cars. But it's fine as an action scene. It's perfectly fine. I don't care about it at all. And the only reason it exists is just so that she can get a bit close to Max and say, "Give me the stone." And he's just like, "I am the stone." And she figures out what he means like several hours later,
Mm-hmm.
not in that moment.
Well, he does it. You're
And
looking at it, and she's like, "What the
oh,
like?"
yeah.
At the moment, I'd be like, "What the fuck does that mean, dude?" Like, just be explicit.
I don't know. It's and then she does save the kids.
But she saves the kids by telling Steve to shoot a missile at them.
Yeah. Oh, and then she gets them off and hurries them along, but then Max has already gone away. And at this point, she gets a call from Barbara telling her where the stone came from. Turns out it's from all civilizations that have ever fallen, like Rome and the Mayans and stuff. And so she's like, "Oh no, who could tell us about that?" And apparently, there is no one in all of DC that knows anything about the Mayan civilization.
Yeah, so it's weird. There's one guy who is only Mayan because of his great great grandpa. Like, it's so
His last name is
weird.
Patel. And
Yeah.
here's the thing, the Mayan civilization is gone, but the Mayan people are still very much around.
Mm-hmm.
Was there no one they could call? No one else? Like, I guess you could excuse it if you could say, like, only this one guy knew about this one particular artifact. That's still fucking weak as hell.
They could have, and they easily could have changed the like civilization that he focused on. It's so like 100% could have been a different civilization. Like they say, it's like it was Rome, and it was like that. It's been all over the place. It could have just been a guy who's been like who heard it, like who heard about it when like Romulus was assassinated with it. Okay, well let's go back and see where else it's been, and like has actually been tracking this because like it didn't have
Yeah.
to be the Mayans.
No, it's. And if it's going to be the Mayans, you could have had the guy who explained it, you know, be fucking Mayan and not this random guy. What was the point? So anyway, so Barbara then goes to this guy, and what Diana and Steve immediately turn up afterwards. I guess that was a very short flight from Cairo,
Okay, yeah, like
and
they have this like weird interstitial scene where like it seems like something like whisks through a cornfield, and I think that's supposed to be Diana and Steve, but Diana isn't like the Flash, and she's also losing her powers. So how the fuck?
it's how the fuck it explains this perfectly. So they go with this guy, and he says like, "Oh yes, this stone was present at every single time like it fell," and they realize, "Oh no, this was created by a god, not just any god, Dolos, the god of treachery, because like you wish for things, but then it takes something from you." Weak, still fucking weak. Dream would have worked better anyway, and they realized, okay, so it takes stuff from you. And Barbara's just like, "Oh no, that can't be right. Oh no, I'm not okay with this. We're not going to go after Max Lord," acting sus as fuck.
Yeah, and Diana has stopped caring about Barbara not knowing that like what's going on with her. She's like, yeah, let's just like openly talk about the fact that I am an ancient.
It's I don't know. And so Barbara then cheeses it, looking around like, "Oh, where'd she go? I don't know." And they realize, okay, we really need to find Max Lord now. Like you said, that whole thing in Cairo, you could have cut that out. We'll have lost nothing. But one thing we do realize is that, oh no, Steve realizes that the only reason why he's back is because Diana made a wish. And that wish is somehow, again, it's it's making her lose her powers, but it's also somehow contributing to like this global instability that's happening. I
Yeah,
don't know.
it's because Max is using it for big things. That like that guy who he helped in Cairo, like he wasn't actually like a government official of Egypt. He was a guy who ancestrally would have a claim on this land, and because of that, Egypt is now all up in arms because like now Russia is recognizing his claim and the US refuses to, and so now the Cold War is getting a little bit worse. It's there's a million different things they could have used in place of that, but like the general idea is Max is making big international relationship problems, and
Yeah,
that's gonna have, like, even without the magic, that's gonna have way more side effects than anything else.
and then he's like, what he's been doing is he's also had like a line of people outside his office giving them wishes and taking stuff from them. And there is a funny line where he says, like, why do so many people ask for Porsches? And we get reference to like Porsches crashing all over town. It's it's really weird, but you really see how unstable he's starting to get. But then his kid shows up and is just like, "Oh, Alistair, I still have time for you." And the kid wishes just like, "I just wish you were a great dad." And it's just, and
No,
it's
he
a
doesn't
really
he
sweet.
say, I like, I wish for, like, he says, "I'm gonna wish for something," and then his dad's like, don't waste on something stupid like me." And he says, "Okay, then I wish for your greatness." And that's his wish, and they never really pay off on that.
No, it's
Maybe
it's a very
maybe
sweet moment.
sequel bait thing, because I think like Alistair probably would be a good character to have like in the future, like as an adult.
Maybe
And maybe he actually is a good person, like he thinks Max is.
I don't know. All I know is Pedro Pascal really does act his heart out in this scene.
Absolutely.
It's
Every scene with Alistair, he's like, oh my god, it's so heartbreaking.
You can tell he really wants to do right by this kid, but he doesn't really know how to, and he just thinks like the only way to do that is by being a quote unquote success.
Mm-hmm.
It's the Donald Trump methodology. And he just there's like the way he decorates his offices and stuff, it's very that kind of mentality.
Mm-hmm.
It's really interesting to see this guy who's just so obsessed with capitalism and how it kind of destroys him. And so then he goes to the White House. Fucking hell. And basically gets the president to sign over all of his power in exchange for more nukes near Russia.
Mm-hmm. Not Ronald Reagan.
But a guy who looks just enough like Ronald Reagan for you to go, does that guy look like Ronald
Is he
Reagan?
supposed to be Ronald Reagan?
I don't know, but it's so. Oh, and then he discovers, oh, yes, by the way, we just so happen to have these dioramas of this giant satellite thing that we can use to broadcast to every single television screen in the entire world because we have that technology in the 80s.
Yeah, not only that, but it does actually physically touch people. Don't worry about the mechanics of that. It does touch people.
Because it uses particles and shit.
Sure.
Oh, it's so it's. If there's one word I could come up with this movie, it's forced. There's so many things in the movie that are just so forced. It's really weird.
And
But Diana,
like at this point in time, like thinking about the overall universe, Clark like just got to Earth like 4 years ago. Bruce is, I think, probably in his teens or his early 20s. And both of them are alive and around when the world almost ended in 1984.
and there's no indication later on in the movie that everyone's just forgotten about it.
Mhm.
They suddenly act like they've forgotten about it, but that doesn't get explained in universe. So
There's a reasonable explanation for people forgetting, were people not noticing what happened in World War One. That I think tracks because it was someone who was on the fringes of even the German leadership, and like it was just this contained location, and so all those people, even if they did talk, were probably not believed, and all the people that Diana interacted with in that small town were dead. So it was reasonable that like she would not have been found until Batman vs Superman. It's no longer fucking reasonable in this movie.
no, it's because this is the tricky situation this movie was put in because they established, like I said before, that she never turned up into the public consciousness before BVS. But
I think obviously Lex has been able to follow a trail, but there's not like telling the fucking world, like telling you the fucking world your entire fucking backstory. Like, it doesn't make any goddamn sense.
And and people were calling out for another Wonder Woman movie. We wanted more Wonder Woman, and it would have made sense for this movie to be set after Justice League.
Yeah, just set it in the present. There's no fucking reason for it to be in the past anymore.
Because I guess they wanted to get Gal Gadot in one of those short sleeve jackets that people seem to like so much.
She can do that in the modern era. Those things are coming back.
Maybe. So Diana and Steve track them down to the White House, manage to get in because Diana knows this one guy that turned up early in the movie from there. Managed to get away from him really easy. Security in the White House fucking sucks, I guess.
Yeah,
even in the 18th. Yeah. And they try and get Max. There's a big fight scene. And then Barbara shows up trying to stop them because she doesn't want to go back to the way she was. And admittedly, the confrontation between her and Diana is pretty cool. And it was nice to see Kristen Wiig in an action scene. Haven't actually seen her in one of those before.
Mm-hmm.
So
it also was really cool. Like, Diana, like, she actually does, like, it's not like movies where they say, like, a woman got beat up, but she still looks perfect. She looks like she's hurting. Like, she's bleeding, not just bleeding, but, like, she also, like, there's, like, bags under her eyes, and she looks a little bit, like, sickly. Like, I thought that was really interesting that they actually, like, tried to make her look bad because she's getting so fucked up.
Oh no, I'm so weak with my flawless mascara and perfect hair. No, they actually, as you say, they actually make her look pretty beat up. It doesn't help the fact that, Kristen Wiig is literally throwing her around the room.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But, like, they could have, like, I've seen other things where, like, women get thrown around rooms because of a fight scene. They look fine afterwards. It was Batman vs Superman. Like, that's something that I'm willing to criticize about that movie that I love. She looks fucking flawless, and she's being thrown into buildings.
Oh, anyway,
they don't. None of them really ever get that fucked up in that movie.
We can't keep talking about BVS. We just can't. My mind can't take it. So Max gets away along with Barbara, who joins him, and is just like, I guess they team up because she wants to keep herself the way she is. And Max is... Do you know what I like about Max? Even though he's clearly devolving and he's clearly hungry for more and more power, he doesn't go full supervillain. He's clearly causing a lot of problems, but he's not doing it out of malice. He doesn't want to rule the world and destroy everything. I'll get you, He-Man. He just wants to accumulate more power for himself. Mm-hmm. And he's willing to share it with other people. Like, he's willing to, reward Barbara. And I guess he doesn't... Right. What I'm looking for...
The whole movie, he's saying, I'm going to be number one. And then when Barbara when they're flying together, she says, like, I want to be number one. Like, any other, like, villain, I feel like he would have taken her out. Like, he would have betrayed her, taken her out. But, like, he doesn't get up. Like, he's like, cool, yeah, abso-fucking-lutely, let's go, let's do this, let's make you number one.
And that's why I've called him the antagonist, but not a supervillain, because he doesn't really act like a supervillain. He acts like an antagonist who needs to be stopped. But this is why I think he's such a great character, because you can completely understand and sympathize and even empathize with his motivations. You completely get it. Like, I can't get behind Doctor Doom's motivations. He's objectively evil. Not saying Doctor Doom isn't a cool character or an interesting character. Mm-hmm. He's got a very interesting personality, but his goal is world domination. That's not really something I can, relate to. But Max Lord, I can, because he goes about it in a very human way and acts very human. Mm-hmm. And so Wonder Woman and then Steve run through the city of DC, where everyone is just like going nuts because everyone's suddenly a millionaire or not a millionaire. People are dropping dead. People are wishing for cows.
Yeah. Like, they told the guy I wanted a farm. I didn't mean here.
It's so... Like, Are we witnessing the end of a civilization, or are we laughing, movie? Pick one. Like, you could have done jokes earlier, you did jokes earlier, it's fine. Now we're supposed to really grasp, like, oh no, this isn't good at all. And it's kind of a mix of both. And then Steve is just like, Diana, you need to take away your wish because that's the only way you can get your powers back, and that's the only way you can stop this guy, because, Batman's just a kid now. It's not going to help much. And she's like, I don't want to let you go again. And she's like, you have to love again. It's fine, it's okay. I'll always love you, Diana. I recant my wish. Oh no, and now I can fly for some reason. And
the scene does actually, like, it hurts. And like, and I think that's like a credit to both of them, but really Chris Pine, because Chris Pine is fucking outstanding. But like, it really is like, it hurts. Like, he has to like reassure her. It's like, no, you will. You, like, I know you. I know how strong you are. You're gonna love again. You're gonna find someone else. And like when she's walking away and like the effects, like her wounds close up and she gets more, like, her power, like obviously her powers come back as she's walking away. It's something that I noted that was really cool. I thought
it was a very well acted scene, I grant you, but it's just annoying because the end of the first movie with Wonder Woman, she had lost Steve. Steve sacrificed himself for her, for the world, etc. And here he is doing the same fucking thing again. It just feels kind of pointless. I'm all for the focus on Diana, trying to get over Steve and, embracing the fact that there are other people out there. But we didn't need Steve to be there present for that. And also, that's with a focus on Wonder Woman's character, that's the point of this movie. Her getting over Steve. It's not a terrible thing, but was there nothing else you could have done with this character? That's basically her arc.
Diana, like, this is what's weird about Diana, is that they really, like, I don't think it's supposed to be, like, Steve is not Steve in this movie. He's supposed to be like, she's not allowed to get what she wants in, like, if it conflicts with what the good of the world is. She, like, it's a little bit of, like, it's a little bit tragic in that, and that's something that, like, a lot of DC heroes have to deal with. It's like, I'm not allowed to be selfish because then the world will end. I have to do this. I have to put this all on my shoulders. And it's not fucking healthy. It's not it's not at all healthy. But I think it was actually something that, like, was supposed to be explored with Superman and Justice League. Like, he didn't really want to go back. Like, when he like woke up, he was supposed to just be like, okay, I want to go home. Can I go home, please? And everyone's like, nope, you can't. You have to save the world. And he's like, God damn it, fine.
I don't even get a break in death. God.
Right? Yeah. It's something that I really want. Like, I want a movie where, like, a hero discovers they don't need to always, be on. They can turn off a little bit. I think especially when, like,
we had that. It was called Megamind.
Right. Like, I think, but he was also seen as a jackass for leaving. Like,
True.
Yeah. So, like, I want a hero movie where I think it's something that, like, can be explored in something like a good Justice League movie where there's other heroes. Like, yeah, someone else can get it. You take a chill day.
Wait. We also did that as well with Hawkeye.
Did we? Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
he went to go to his family. Yeah.
And imagine if the entire movie just revolved around that one plot point. I mean,
well, okay, he didn't go to his family because he needed a break. He went to his family because they needed a safe house.
Yeah, but then he retired later on. He was just like, I'm done being a superhero. I'm going to spend time with my family. You guys have fun.
Right. He also wasn't.
Mind you, it is Hawkeye, so it's not the most fantastic lot.
If it was like Iron Man, I'd be like, what the fuck, dude? Like, but it's Hawkeye, and they're like, yeah, sure, no.
You fund this whole thing! Guys, I'm also leaving. Okay, bye, Clint.
If they respected
You're not going to make the same big deal.
3, they would, like, things would have been different.
I don't know. It just annoyed me that this movie seems to focus around, or at least trying to focus around, this thing that we already got. We already had Steve sacrificing himself for Diana, and now we're just getting it again except now we're slightly less invested. Yes, the acting is great. It's just, it feels like this movie could have used greater focus on a different aspect of Diana. Like maybe she still, after all these years, she feels disconnected from the modern world. Like maybe she hides stuff away, like she hasn't got a lot of friends, like you were saying earlier. And this is about her embracing and actually choosing to live in the world, not just as Wonder Woman, but also as Diana, really cementing herself and having ties to people. And that's kind of what they're doing, but not really. It's just focusing all around Steve again.
Mm-hmm.
And we've already got that. But anyway, so that happens, and then she starts to fly. Now, I've personally never been a big fan of the fact that she can fly. I don't really get it. Like, how can she fly? And I kind of like the fact that in the previous movie she could just jump really far. But I thought, that's cool. She's not OP. She's really cool. But now she can fly
I think like
by...
it's something that like they do, I think, at least make clear in the like mechanics of it that she needs to get momentum. She's not Superman. She can't just like from nothing just shoot up there. She needs to like get a head start. She needs to run, and then she needs to do a big jump, and then she needs to like pull herself along. It's not explicitly flight. It's just big momentum, I
It's
think.
Thor flight.
Yeah.
Fair enough. I can deal with that. What I can't deal with is in that run-up that you mentioned, the effects for that look fucking awful.
The effects in this movie has looked fucking terrible the entire time. It never looks good.
This one looked especially bad. It was very clear that Gal Gadot was just pumping her legs in midair while she's been sped along a track. It looks like the fucking running from Twilight. It's really bad.
Especially everything with the lasso just looks fucking awful.
Yeah, and so then she goes back to her apartment, and earlier in the movie, Steve pointed out this big cloth wrap thing, and she revealed that, oh yes, that's the armor of Asteria, the last Amazon left in the mortal world before Themyscira went bye-bye, as she held back all the armies of man. And we get a scene with this mysterious Asteria, try saying that 5 times fast, wearing the armor. We get a flash of her eyes, so they look very familiar. I'm just like, where have I seen those eyes before? We'll talk about that later. And then she goes back to her apartment, gets that armor, and it's... What was the fucking point of that armor?
Yeah, she does like throw off the wing. I think it's because like I don't fucking know why she puts it.
It's got
cool.
giant wings, and it made me think like, oh, is this a reference to Hawk Girl? Like,
no, it is actually like the big like the big gold armor is actually a comics thing.
Cool, but I haven't read the comics, so I have no real connection to it. So why didn't you just like? Is it because she's going up against Max Lord? I don't think she'll really need it, especially now she's got all of her powers back. It doesn't really add anything except for like a handy-dandy shield with the wings. But she didn't know that she was going to need that. Maybe she just wanted to get all of her stuff together.
It seems like maybe like her like because the wings did actually like start moving. Maybe she can fly a little bit easier with the wings.
Maybe. I feel like she could have just stolen another plane. Who knows? The reason why she's doing all that is because Max has gone to this government satellite control base thing where he's going to start broadcasting to the entire world and say, what do you wish? Tell me your wishes. And they're just like, oh, I wish to be famous. And then suddenly, oh, they're famous. There's a very funny thing. Oh, yeah, no, this is really weird. This is really fucking weird. There's a scene in the UK where this woman says, I wish all you Irish people were taken back to where you came from.
It's like, holy shit. You can't drop that. You can't drop, especially not, oh my God. Guys?
Even if you aren't aware of the nature of Irish-Anglo relations, it seems like just xenophobia, just for the sake of xenophobia. It's really, really clumsy. And then it's immediately followed by the Irish guy saying, well, I wish you would drop dead. And then she does, and it's kind of funny. And then he turns around and he sees a bunch of other people on the street getting arrested by the police. Presumably they're also Irish. And it's just like, okay, so we started off with something horrifically offensive, followed by a joke, followed by allusions to real-life police brutality. movie. Pick a tone and stick to it, please.
It's such whiplash, and you're just like, you can't just do that, Patty.
God,
Patty, you can't do that.
no, no. I don't want to say no. Patty, no. You know what? Patty Jenkins directed this, so you know what? Blame lies with her. Fine, buck stops there.
She
Because
directed and wrote some of this.
yeah, it's like I like Patty Jenkins. I think she's a very good director. I'm very excited that she's going to be doing this Star Wars Rogue Squadron TV series thing, movie, whatever it is. But this is unacceptable. It really is. I don't think it's born out of genuine bigotry or anything. It's just done out of a lack of self-awareness, a lack of just complete and utter ignorance. And no, like, so I was watching this YouTube video recently about, you may have heard of it, Fact Fiend with Carl Smallwood. And he was talking about this episode of The Simpsons, very famous episode, where John Waters guest stars as this gay man, and Homer is revealed to be homophobic and is concerned about Bart and everything. And in the original script for the show that John Waters perused over before they started recording, he found the that horrible gay slur that begins with F and is what we would call a cigarette over here in the UK. I'm not actually going to say it, obviously. And he's just like, okay, so, and John Waters said to the staff writers of The Simpsons, okay, guys, this is not okay, just so you know. Like, I'm not angry, just this is a horrible slur. And the staff writers of The Simpsons were like, what, really? Oh, God. It's that kind of mentality. It's not one of bigotry, but it is one of ignorance, and it's one of those things where if you're going to be talking about that kind of stuff, maybe you should get someone from that culture or that nation or someone who knows what they're talking about to look it over to see whether or not that's appropriate. Because, like, okay, so you mentioned earlier with the Israeli-Palestinian thing, I was not aware of that, and when I was watching the scene until you said that. So if I was writing this movie, I would have been guilty of that too. So I would probably want to make sure that someone who is aware of that kind of stuff looked over the script just to make sure, because you kind of have to do stuff. Like, I don't want to discourage people from writing about peoples and cultures and nations that are not their own. That's something that we should do. But when you're not aware of historical or indeed present day cultural contexts, you probably should find someone who is.
I mean, there is someone explicitly in the cast and the production team that does know the context about Israel and Palestine.
Oh, it's it's just so much of a blind side. Again, the distractingness of this movie, it just makes for a very unenjoyable watch. I shouldn't.
It's like for me, like, I had fun with like it picking things out, but it's just like there's some things that just like clearly weren't thought through very much and like were just put out. It's like this movie was supposed to come out this time last year. Like, that was the first release date. And then they pushed it to the summer of this year because they did really well in summer last year or last time. And then they pushed it to now. So it's like it came out too late for these excuses to like for this to have any excuse for.
They had time to work on it. They had time to edit. They had time to get people's opinions on it. If there was ever a movie where if they had ample time to focus test, this will be it. And admittedly, I'm not a fan of focus testing in terms of like plot and character because, okay, so we're some of the most highest paid industry professionals in the film industry. Let's get a bunch of random yobos to come in here and give their, uneducated opinion on the movie. Like, I know people can choose whether they like a movie or not, but they don't maybe know what works. But some people might know, hey, that whole Irish thing or that whole Palestinian thing, that whole Middle Eastern thing in general, not cool. Maybe someone could say, hey, Patty, do you know maybe you're giving up a lot of gay vibes in this thing? It might come across as queer baiting. I don't expect people to know this automatically. I want to make that very clear. We're all learning, we're all growing as people, and no, I don't expect anyone to just automatically be woke, which is a phrase I hate, and just automatically know this stuff. But you do have to talk with other people.
Right.
I'm done ranting about this. Anyway, she crashes into the studio, but is confronted by Barbara, who is now completely turned into Cheetah. Now, I know there's been a lot of contradiction with Cheetah in terms of, like, there's different continuities in DC, but generally speaking, Alex, how does Cheetah get her powers?
I mean, I think it's usually like a science experiment gone wrong, like a lot of things.
Okay, but there's usually direct reason for it, like she was experimenting with cheetah DNA or something. I don't know.
All the stuff.
Okay, fine. And in this movie, they explained by earlier her saying to Max, I want to be a real apex predator. So she becomes a cheetah lady for 2 minutes.
Well, I think she would have stayed had other things not happened, but yeah, apparently from what I am reading of her wiki page just briefly, originally it was a blood sacrifice ritual to turn her into a cheetah god.
Okay, sure. Oh God, this movie, and so she's a cheetah person now. She is a literal cat person, and then it's a big fight scene between her and Diana. And I was looking forward to this, like, because Cheetah's a pretty big. She's basically like Wonder Woman's Lex Luthor in a way. She's the one that pops up the most.
I would say seriously, that's seriously. I think she would be more like Wonder Woman's Scarecrow.
Sure, a recognizable character that pops up a lot, but isn't always necessarily the big bad. Okay, fine, but I was very much looking forward to this fight scene. Imagine my disappointment when it's shot at night so you can barely see anything, and the CGI covering Kristen Wiig is horrendous.
Oh my god, it's so bad.
I couldn't even tell that it was her playing the character.
Yeah, it's so obvious this was done at night so they could hide the fucking garbage CGI. It's like, it is unfortunate how bad it is.
Oh god, the fight scene isn't that great either, because it's like at one point there's electrical cables that get severed, and then they just start swinging around Pirates of the Caribbean style while they're fighting.
It's not good. I like these villains as characters a lot more than the first movie. I don't like their fight scenes. Their fight scenes are worse. I think this is supposed to be what replaces the Ares fight, and the Ares fight, while it was kind of pointless, fucking ruled.
Yeah, and Diana tries to convince Barbara to come back to the light side. I have failed you, Anakin. I have failed you, and then she doesn't listen. So Diana fucking electrocutes her,
which she had no idea that wouldn't kill her. I was like, oh my god, Diana, you're killing this woman. Oh my god.
Yeah, and she somehow survives it. Mm-hmm. I would have assumed her ass was grass. Mm-hmm. But then manages to leave her behind and then goes in to confront Maxwell Lord, and oh god, she gets blown down by wind due to all of the wishes that he's been granting.
I mean, maybe he gets he says, I'm gonna take power, like he does, because a cheetah didn't fucking wish for anything, and he was able to give Barbara, he was able to turn Barbara into a cheetah. So I guess it's just you can take whatever from someone even if they don't have it.
Maybe. And here's the thing though. It's weird and it's kind of silly to see Gal Gadot fall down because there's been big gusts of wind surrounding this guy. Mm-hmm. But here's the thing. He still acts like a real person. Like, he's clearly drunk on power, but he's just like, don't worry, Diana, I'm in a forgiving mood. I'll give you back your boyfriend if you want. And it's just like, I love this guy. Great. I love this guy so much because he's clearly in the wrong, But in his mind, he's doing everything right. He's being magnanimous. He's being gracious. And this is why I think this movie completely understands what makes a good villain.
Mm-hmm.
Because every villain is the hero of their own story. And it's a cliche, but it's true. Everyone who's done anything bad in their lives, at least in the moment, thinks that at the time it's the right thing to do. And he thinks it's the right thing to do, which is why I can't really take villains who murder indiscriminately and laugh about it like, haha, I'm going to burn down this orphanage, seriously. Because whilst they can be fun in their own right in certain kinds of stories where you don't have to take them too seriously, there's no way I would take them seriously because no one, in their right mind at least, would do that and see themselves as a hero. Oh, no. I was morally justified in burning down that orphanage. They had termites. Yeah. And right to the end of this movie, this character's fantastic because Wonder Woman then managed to get him with the lasso, and I guess truth counteracts lies.
I guess.
And like
think
there's a thematic element to this whole conflict which could have worked if you hadn't spent the first third of the movie calling this MacGuffin thing the Dreamstone.
There's and this is kind of a weird note that I picked up on, but while Diana is like giving this speech about like everyone should renounce their things and like trying to talk to Max and like trying to talk to the world, and it's the only time I noticed the score because it's the only time the score is good, and it's because it's men are still good from the end of Batman vs Superman.
Yeah, it's
I was like, huh, that's Hans Zimmer. That's not whoever the fuck is doing this. That's Hans fucking Zimmer. Like
there was also another bit of the score when she's learning to fly that was taken from another film that I can't remember. You know,
probably was Man of Steel. It probably was just the fucking flight scene for Man of Steel, honestly.
Yeah, it's. I noticed that and I just thought that's kind of disappointing.
Right, but this I think Men Are Still Good is like that was a really good use of that, and it's like it's the same use it has at the end of Batman vs Superman. Like it calls back to that. It doesn't like it's doing this thing where it's like, yeah, we're doing our own thing now because the like whole universe thing isn't really working out for us, but we're still gonna call back to these movies because they are important to people and these themes are important to us. So we want to actually keep going with them of this overarching theme of hope, and regular people are the people that we really should be focusing on and putting our hope into.
But then they don't actually bring that back in a plot-wise or a character-wise. So yes, it's interesting on a technical level, on a metaphorical level, but not on a literal level. And this is why I'm talking about this whole disconnect versus connect sort of thing.
I think maybe not like this movie does it a little bit more explicitly, like regular people can save the world, like that's like the whole thing. But like that's been the overarching theme of pretty much every DC like main DC movie, like not the side stuff like Birds of Prey and Suicide Squad didn't really have that, but like that's been supposed to be the theme of every single one of these movies if you're like really getting into it and paying attention. It's supposed to be, people are inherently good even if they do shitty things.
I guess maybe, but if you're a skeptic guy like me, you might take issue with that. But you don't have to make the movie for me. I don't care. What I do care about is the lasso of truth then shows Max like images from his childhood, like his abusive father, and him wanting to make something from himself. Because it turns out this guy was real name, revealed earlier, was actually Maxwell Lorenzano, and he's sort of rebranded himself as Max Lord. I thought that was kind of interesting. And it cuts between, like his kid, Alistair, who's running around without any adult supervision. Just
because
trying to avoid just running around trying to avoid riots and stuff. Max realizes the chaos he's created and how it's put his son in jeopardy. And that's what causes him to renounce his wish. It's his son. And that's when I realized something. This is not a good Wonder Woman movie. but it is a great Max Lord movie.
It's a great origin for Alistair Lord.
Yeah, it's that's where the vast majority of the focus of the movie is. These are the characters I really care about. These are the ones that are the most complex, the most interesting, and the most engaging. And yeah, we have scenes with Diana and Steve and others, but the takeaway most people, I think, are going to get from this movie is Max Lord. And and surprisingly, that does not make the movie better. It makes it more fun when he's on screen, but the movie isn't called Max Lord 84, it's called Wonder Woman 84.
Yeah.
And so it kind of fails in its original, mission statement, I guess. Because, like, it's always cool when you have a really cool antagonist character, that's always great. But unless you have a movie that's specifically revolving around the antagonist, like, that was the point and that was the focus, and it's not necessarily the hero that you're focusing on, or you're doing it equally, then it just feels kind of not misleading, but as we said earlier, unfocused. And he just literally just runs out of the TV studio, manages to find his way back to civilization, touches down his helicopter right next to where Alistair is, then runs to him, and has a really tearful reunion with him. And like you mentioned earlier, he owns up to the fact that he's not been a good guy. He's been a really shitty guy, and he's lied to him, and it's as cheesy and hammy, kind of, as Pedro Pascal's acting was before, which was very entertaining, I should mention. This scene with him and his son is so fucking good.
Yeah, I don't. I'm gonna work to make you proud because right now I can't do that. Like, I'm not gonna. He's like, you don't need to make me proud. You're my dad, and I love you. And I'm like, oh my god.
It's really, really good. But again, this is part of the problem. I care more about these characters than I do the main character.
Just let Alistair be in the next movie as an adult. I want that.
Yeah, that would be great. Take the lessons he learned from his dad and become a better person going forward. That would be great. And especially since we never see Max Lord again after that scene. He doesn't get mentioned. We don't see him again. As far as we know, there are no legal consequences for him being at the center point of like this massive global instability.
I mean, legally, what did he do wrong?
I don't know,
Exactly.
but no one talks about it.
I don't think legally they can do anything to him because it's like, what the fuck even happened? Like, I think this is such a weird thing. That's like, well, there's obviously going to be repercussions for this. Just because the nukes disappear doesn't stop like Russia and the U.S. from declaring war on each other. That doesn't change that.
Yeah, it's the wishes have gone away, but people have still remember, and their reactions to it hasn't. I feel like Russia would be like, "Oi, Americans, what the hell? What was going on there?" Like, but there's none of that. It's literally just like Max Lord says, "I take back my wish," and then the movie goes on reset, like none of this ever happened, and everyone acts accordingly.
But
It's so fucking.
also it doesn't and I guess it's because we don't really see the fallout of this at all. They just skip to the winter of that year, and
It's literally next scene. It's Christmas.
yeah, it just doesn't make any goddamn sense. It's like, wait a second. So do people remember? I don't think they remember what happened. We don't get an explicit mind wiping scene, but we do see fake Steve, and you think that he would remember at least a little bit.
Yeah, you'd think he'd be like, "Hey, you're the person that I saw through my eyes as my body did and said things completely not under my own power. Did you know what happened to me? It was really scary. It was just like some being John Malkovich shit."
I blacked out for a few days, and all I can remember is you and a plane, and it's so weird. I think the idea is that nobody remembers. It was reset, and people who weren't Max and Diana and maybe Barbara don't remember.
Oh, that's another thing. Barbara, like we see her turn back to human after Max takes back his wish, but then we never hear from her again. What did she become a better person? Did she suffer any legal consequences from assaulting several people in the White House?
Look,
Like,
it's like 2.5 hour movie. At least dedicate some of it to wrapping up the plot.
please, especially with the two characters that we care more about than any other ones. They literally just fall off the face of the movie. It, and and so one Diana meets the guy that Steve's body possessed, flirts with him a little bit. That seems wrong on a numerous number of levels, and then walks away just like, "Yep, this has all meant something." What? I don't know. Like literally the sum total of a character arc is now she's ready to date again.
And then she
Oh,
doesn't.
and then she doesn't.
From Justice
Oh,
League,
but
and she doesn't.
it would take something really, really cool and fun and charming to make me forget about all the ups and downs of this movie. Hello, Linda Carter. Result.
Yes! That I lost it. I was like, this is not this is Linda. This is Linda. And then it rotates around the camera. I'm like,
because I'm particular about my cameos with people who have been in previous versions of the thing that we're doing now. I don't like it to be distracting. I don't like it to be weird. But in this version, we mentioned earlier this last Amazon, Asteria, and it turns out she's been secretly living amongst the humans ever since then. And she's played by Linda Carter, who is an amazing human being. Have you seen her in Fallout? Fucking hell.
she is fantastic. I really, really like this. Like, if they're gonna cameo her, she's playing seemingly an important character. Like, I hope that they actually follow up on this.
She's not just like a background character who one character has a bunch of something like a big telegraph pole is about to fall on this kid, but she casually catches it with one hand, puts it down, and the moment the kid is just like, "Oh, thank you. Who are you?" It's just like, "My name's Asteria. It's a name from my culture." Wink, and then walks away.
She's so cool, and she looks
She's so cool.
good.
Oh, she's like 80 or something, but I don't know, but she's how old is she?
Yeah.
Not that it's any of my fucking business. She is 60. She is 69. Okay, so I was a bit off with 80, but you know what? She does look fucking amazing. She sounds amazing, and I've seen videos of her being interviewed when the previous Wonder Woman came out and stuff, and she's just the most amazing personality. And of course, we've seen her in things like Supergirl recently, where she's popped up before. And the first thing I ever actually saw was in that Disney film Sky High. Don't judge me.
It's a fun movie. It was
fun movie where at the end of it, her last line is like, "You know what? I'm not Wonder Woman." Like, "Oh, I see what you did there." And then you go and think, "Oh, I should look more into like original 70s Wonder Woman." And then you see it and you think, "Well, I have a new crush."
she is a delight, and I'm so glad that they're like not just including her as like a cameo, but like including her in the plot. And I hope that like there's more of that, because I gotta imagine Patty's already in for number 3. Like
she's got to be.
Like it's the last of the like Trinity. Like she's the last of the Trinity of the like main cast that's still around and still doing like continuous movies. So I think they just like they gotta push it and like hope like if they want to do this big like cinematic universe like they were trying to do. I think what they're doing now is really good by like having movies that do actually relate to each other and reference back to each other, and they are in the same universe, but we're not doing Justice League again. I don't want another Justice League.
No. We've already got a great Justice League. It was animated and it ran for several seasons and then followed up with Justice League Unlimited. Like, we're good.
Yeah.
Let's just focus on these characters, these potentially very interesting characters. I will say this, I don't think Wonder Woman was very interesting in this movie. I liked her in the first one when she was in World War One, but now she's not that interesting. And there are some scenes where Gal Gadot gives some really good performances, but in a lot of the other scenes, she's very reserved, and which worked in the previous movie because, she's sort of a fish out of water sort of thing. But here, it doesn't really work, especially when she's surrounded by people like Kristen Wiig, Chris Pine, and Pedro Pascal, who are all giving very dynamic performances. It
Mhm.
like in other movies, it may have worked, but in this movie, with these specific actors, you've got to try and match them.
Yeah, it didn't work out this time. I think that like it probably like I hope like because obviously clearly Patty Jenkins took the criticisms of the last movie with the villains and like fucking was like, all right, let's fix that. So hopefully she like takes the criticisms of this movie and moves forward with that.
Just yeah. So uh, okay, so it's sort of a case of, as you said, one step forward, one step back. Before we had kind of lame antagonists, but a very good focus on Diana, and now we have the reverse of that. So hopefully, number three, Patty Jenkins will hit it out of the park, and frankly, I think she can do that. It's just this
I
is
think there needs to be I like my ideal Wonder Woman movie next time would be modern era, um modern era Circe or someone like an actual Themysciran villain, like Ares, but actually utilized really well. That actually relates to her, and
hmm.
then we would need Linda to come in and also help out. Like having two Amazons in the real world, like kicking out. That's so cool. I want that.
And maybe they could learn something from each other. Like
Mhm.
Asteria, we don't know that much about her, but it's like, has she actually fully integrated into society,
I mean,
or
she's
has she
been
kept
there
it
for
distant?
thousands of years. She's been there way longer than Diana has.
Yeah, and Linda Carter is such a great actress. You know, she could really do something with that.
Mhm.
So yeah, there's a lot of potential there for a great sequel. The problem is, this is very much this is the worst kind of middle film where it just there's just not a lot of focus. God, it's really frustrating because there's clearly a lot of talent going on here with the acting, with the directing, with the writing. But like I said, there's ups and downs with the stereotyping, the lack of focus, the repeating stuff that didn't need to be repeated, and the stuff that could have been cut out but wasn't cut out. 2.5 hours, man. 2.5 fucking hours. This isn't
Yeah.
fucking Endgame.
Mhm.
And so it's disappointing and underwhelming. Does that mean it's entirely without value? No, there are, like I said, good performances and good ideas and some good action scenes. There's not nothing here, but there's not enough. And I think the Rotten Tomatoes score of at time of recording is like 65%.
Is it? I
I
thought
think
it was
that's
like I think that might be the audience score, but the review score is like much higher. Um,
but maybe
because
maybe I'm looking at
the
something.
reviews were like the reviews were kind of blown out of water.
Hmm,
Um, like when the actual like critic reviews came out, it was like, oh, this is a fantastic movie. It gets a little bit long. Okay, yeah, it's at 65 right now, but it was like before that, it was like 90 something.
You see, I never really go by immediate, right after it comes out, review scores because often
It was
I
early
like
review
to,
scores. It was yeah.
yeah, I like to wait to see things die down a bit and people start thinking about it for a bit longer amount of time. And would we classify this as a bad film?
It's just kind of okay, and I'm fine with that, I guess. It's got 73 audience score. Like it's just like for me, it's like it's just kind of okay. It's a little bit middling. It's not Suicide Squad or Justice League levels bad,
Mm,
but it like doesn't reach the like same highs as like Birds of Prey in the last movie. Like it's just
no,
kind of okay. Like and kind of okay
and
for
that
me for DC is like, you know what? Pretty damn good. All right. We'll pack it up. It's still better. Leagues far and away leagues better and more thought out than any other of its same ilk.
See, the thing is, though, I would quite happily go back and rewatch the first Wonder Woman movie and Birds of Prey and even Aquaman, but I don't really want to go back and watch this movie again. But you know what?
Mhm.
That's okay because you're right. It is okay. It's middling. There are problems, very real problems, but I honestly think that it's okay for a movie to be okay. Like sometimes it's less okay. Sometimes you have expectations and you want them to be matched. But other times, a movie like this, like okay is fine. It's not fantastic, but you don't have to be fantastic. You still have worth. Not every movie is going to be fantastic. Not every movie is going to be completely visionary and, voice of a generation or whatever. You are allowed to just be okay, especially when you have stuff in it, like Pedro Pascal and Kristen Wiig, that really do make it stand out. So, yeah, the movie is okay. There are some stuff in it that are problematic and some, technical aspects that could have used a lot of work, but
There's really a
there's
lot writing on it, which I think is unfortunate. Like,
yeah,
I think it's still gonna make a lot of money because it's like the fucking only thing out right now that's worth watching. Um, so like, I think it's gonna
yeah,
do
pretty
well,
much.
and so I think like this is not gonna kill DC in any way. Um,
No, but the problem is we don't really have much of a as far as I know, there isn't much of uh roadmap for what DC is going to
there is.
do
There's
next.
Cyborg and the Flash are both still happening. Black
Okay, are they
Adam.
actually happening, or they
No,
say they're going
they're
to do
like
it?
actually legitimately happening. They're
They're in pre-production.
they're in pre-production, yeah.
Okay, all right then.
There's Black Adam, which was supposed to start filming over the summer.
Oh yeah,
But they've The Rock has been announcing it feels like The Rock is the only one involved in this movie.
I wouldn't be surprised. He's a very busy guy. I'm sure he'll be doing everything. Just like,
Yeah.
hey, Dwayne, can you lift the boom mic higher? Sure thing, Dwayne. Like,
Um
how is he doing all of this? I
yeah,
don't know.
Shazam 2 is definitely happening. There was like a teaser of that at
Oh
I
yeah.
think.
Oh yeah. That was a big reveal a while ago
Yeah.
that we talked about. Yeah.
And then oh god, there was like one more. Oh, Static Shock. Being produced
Oh yeah.
by Michael B. Jordan.
The problem is, I guess the reason why I say there's not much of a roadmap is because yes, that stuff is in the pipeline, and yes, we're probably going to get that stuff, but we the audience don't really know when. Like they're saying it's going to be at this time,
Well, okay,
but they said
that's
that
the
last
problem
year.
with everything now.
Yeah.
Like Marvel was supposed to have Black Widow come out this year. But it hasn't yet. It's still kind of unclear. Like TV show wise, they've got a lot in the works because TV shows I guess are a little bit easier to film right now. But movie wise, like everything is on pause. It's like, yeah, we're
Yeah.
getting stuff down the pipeline. I don't think we're getting like any trailers for anything anytime soon because of just it's too like I don't think Love and Thunder finished filming. The Batman didn't
No.
finish filming. There's just so like
The only thing that did finish filming during everything that's happened was actually The Mandalorian, as far as I'm aware.
right, yeah. And I think like I mean it seems like WandaVision and all those Marvel shows were filmed a while ago.
Yeah. Well,
So
they had
maybe
to
they're
pick it up
waiting.
at some point late this year to resume, and but apparently it's finished, so we're still going to get that.
Mhm.
I think it's a case of we're just going to have to be patient and accept things as they come. Like nothing's set in stone. That's why I was kind of surprised. Like, oh, Wonder Woman 84 is out. Should probably go and review that, and I did, and you just heard it.
Yeah.
And one thing I will want to say though, so Patty Jenkins, Jeff Johns, and David Callahan did the screenplay. I just looked up David Callahan, and he did this movie, but he also wrote Zombieland Double Tap.
Mm.
Never saw, don't care. Did the story for the 2014 Godzilla, for which he must die, but he's also going to write and is writing the. There's a Mortal Kombat movie coming out next year, as well as Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, and as Untitled Spider-Man to the Spider-Verse sequel. And I'm just going to say, I don't know, we'll probably never know who's responsible for some of the more xenophobic, problematic elements of this movie. But if it was him and he's in charge of writing the Shang-Chi movie, I'm concerned.
Yeah. I don't know. Like I can't really pin down because like Jeff is all over the place when it comes to his writing. He's super super hit or miss. And
Well, I
also might
mean,
be
he
fired
and
soon.
Patty Jenkins. Sorry.
He also might be fired soon. Um,
Oh God.
'Cause
Oh
he's
no.
like one of three people are gonna get thrown under the bus because of this Justice League thing, and it's either gonna be Jeff Johns, Joss Whedon, or David S. Goyer.
Well, In that case, then it's probably either going to be Whedon or Goya, because let's be honest, Whedon, they lose nothing by throwing Whedon under the bus because his name's Mud right now. And David S. Goya, the man's kind of clung on by his talons to DC in the comic book film industry since the 2000s.
And Jeff is the Kevin Feige for DC.
Yeah, so I think out of all of them, he's the least expendable.
Yeah.
Who knows? Who knows? But, so is there anything else we can talk about this movie?
I don't think so. There's really nothing else to talk about. The score is like only okay, except when they like take stuff from like the Hans Zimmer Junkie XL DC movies. Because
yeah,
I really note and enjoy the score in DC movies fucking a lot because they're usually like really creative and really cool. This one was just
Shirley Walker is fantastic. Say that much.
Right.
But I like the main theme of this where it went like dun 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 dun. I like that one.
And there's also like the Hans Zimmer Issue with You, the badass music that kind of is reprised a lot in this movie. But that's like a given at this point. So it's like, again, taken from Hans Zimmer and Junkie XL to like to make the movie.
I mean, if you can take from Hans Zimmer, take all you can, because the guy's great.
Yeah, the music in Batman and Superman is far and away like the best part of that movie. That soundtrack fucking rocks.
Oh god. And so that's basically it. Wonder Woman 84. If you're into Wonder Woman and DC movies, this movie is worth your time. But if you feel like you can skip it, go ahead and skip it, because honestly, I don't think you're going to miss out on much.
It's worth watching. Just like you got nothing fucking else to do. What are you doing right now?
I'm about to go and watch that new Pixar movie.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's happening. I'll watch it eventually, maybe. I don't know. I don't watch a lot of Disney Plus stuff.
But Tina Fey is a quirky sidekick soul person.
Isn't that just all of her roles?
Well, no. Right now, she's working on a TV series with what's his face from The Good Place and Cheers.
Okay, that's fine. Ted Danson.
Not really. Have you seen the trailer? It looks fucking awful.
No, I have not. I have not watched a lot of Tina Fey things in a while.
Oh, God. Well, and so, yeah, that's Wonder Woman 84. On that note, I think we're going to end the show talking about Tina Fey for some reason. Hey, you know what? If the movie can't focus, why can we? You know?
Yep.
Thank you very much, Alex, for joining me today.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
And if you enjoy the show capers, please tell your friends, shout it from the rooftops. And if you haven't already, go back and listen to some of our other super episodes, like all the times me and Alex have talked about DC, the ups, the downs, left, the rights, the sideways bits. And you can listen to the show on iTunes, Podbean, YouTube, Spotify, Amazon Music, or at podcapers.com. If you want to get in touch with us, suggest show topics, or maybe come on the show yourself, you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at AP2HYC. Thank you very much to Dan Harris for our logo, the lovely microphone, the red and blue 3D glasses, those are mine. And thank you for listening. This has been Podcapers, the official podcast for a place to hang your cape. Cue the music!